What's up, guys? Good morning, sunshines. Good morning, direwolves, dragons, stags, lions, and everyone else. This is Season 7, Episode 7, Season Finale Recap and Review. Very sad it's the last episode, but just so you know, there will be spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen everything up to this point, I suggest you exit out of the video and go watch everything and then come back. That'll be great. Our episode opens up and we have Grey Worm outside of King's Landing, surrounded by the Unsullied, obviously. Jaime and Bronn are kind of overlooking what's going on. Then the Dothraki come, they kind of fill in the blanks of the Unsullied army, and we have Daenerys' forces just chilling there, ready to go, in case Cersei tries to pull anything on this big meeting they've all planned. The ship comes up, Jon and Tyrion are talking. Jon's like, oh, how many people live in King's Landing? Because Jon's never even been there before, 7 seasons later. Tyrion says there's 1 million, and then you're imagining 1 million zombies just running around. Before the meeting, we have a couple of different interactions. I think the last few episodes, including this one, we get a lot of the directors are rewarding us with all these character interactions that you kind of always wanted to happen, but never really expected to. We have Brienne and the Hound reminiscing over Arya. Oh, Arya's fine, wouldn't want to get in her way. Proud parents of Arya being the assassin that she is. Podrick and Tyrion are also reunited. Bronn and Tyrion get to interact again. Another nice duo that we liked over the course of the seasons. And then we all arrive to the meeting point, the Dragon Pit. Everyone looks fresh, everyone looks clean. Jorah's got a new fresh outfit on. Everyone's, you know, dressed to a T. Jon is still there wearing all of his furs from the north. I'm like, what, is that necessary? Are you hot, bro? Like, what? Cersei finally gets there. We have the Hound and the Mountain. They step up to each other, which I thought was interesting and kind of random. Just before this meeting starts, they're like, by the way, you're still gonna get what's coming to you. So the Clegane brothers still have something coming, but I'm like, is there anything left of the Mountain? He seems like a decaying corpse. His face looked so bad underneath that helmet. I feel that it looked worse than the last time we saw him through the little peepholes, but maybe not. Maybe it's just because they were in the daylight and you could see better, but that guy's not all there anymore, I don't think. But apparently maybe they're still gonna have the Clegane Bowl that everyone is rooting for. Then we have Dany arrive on Drogon, making an entrance as usual, which I thought was awesome. So she arrives, she comes down, sits down, and all I can think of at this point is the prophecy that Cersei got when she was a kid that says you will be, as the queen, you will be overtaken by someone younger and more beautiful. Because Dany sits down, she's all blonde and cute looking, and she's young, you know. And obviously Cersei's a little older, she's got her shorter hair, so she just looks kind of like that mom look, and that is all that was going through my head there. I feel that Cersei has to have that prophecy in the back of her head at all times, so she's got to be thinking that too as she looks at Daenerys. In my opinion, I probably would be, but I digress. Then the Hound brings out the White, this plan that totally never made sense that actually worked. I'm super surprised that it all came around and actually ended up happening because I thought the plan was so dumb when they suggested it. However, props. Get the White pops out of the box, scares the crap out of everyone. I really thought that the White was just gonna decay or be dead, or maybe that White Walker died or something, it's just gonna be a box of bones. I don't know, you just, when an episode's going on, it's the first time you've seen it, and there's no leaks or spoilers, you just have all these thoughts in your head, like, what could possibly go wrong? I'm like, what if the White doesn't even reanimate? But it did. It goes for Cersei, who no one tries to protect her from. The Hound just kind of pulls the White back. And this appears to affect Cersei for a minute. And she's like, okay, I will bring my forces back, agree to Dany's truce, if Jon steps down or just chills and stays neutral, I guess. And I thought that was kind of random and weird of her. I don't know why that's specifically what she wanted. Jon and Dany's forces arrived together, clearly already working together, so she's like, well, I don't want you to choose sides. So Jon, obviously being Jon, says that he has already sworn loyalty to Daenerys and ruins everything. And then Cersei just storms off. In my head, I'm like, was this her plan all along? Did she expect there to be an actual undead creature, or was she actually even perturbed by it? I don't know, I just feel that just because Jon swears loyalty or doesn't change the fact that she just got attacked by a zombie, you know? One that's not like her Mountain and very obedient, but one that is just out to kill. She goes back into the castle. We have Tyrion and Jaime, or Tyrion goes to talk to her, you know. So Tyrion and Jaime interact, and they totally make it seem like this could be the last time we ever talk ever. You're just wondering if the directors are setting you up to kill Tyrion, and the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, Tyrion's dead. Tyrion's so dead. They gotta kill someone off this episode. They have to kill someone off. And then he goes into his meeting with Cersei. I don't know, like, going into the meeting, I guess you want Tyrion and Cersei to interact, but Cersei's evil. I was not rooting for this meeting. And then they're just kind of bickering over all the stuff that's already happened, obviously, and just things that they both already know, like, yeah, you killed my dad, yeah, you sort of were the reason my kids are dead, etc. And I'm just like, okay, I guess they're gonna hash it out, cool. But it doesn't seem, I don't know, it wasn't that rewarding of a scene to me. And I just, the whole time I'm like, okay, she's gonna kill Tyrion, she's gonna kill Tyrion. And then she doesn't. But I guess this was just her plot all along, because she does end up manipulating the situation later. So it appears that because Tyrion realizes she's pregnant, which I think because he poured her wine and then she didn't drink it, and she's a wino too like him, and then she's clutching her baby, her belly, and kept talking about family. The only thing that matters is family. And I'm like, you've got a brother, that's it. That you have no family left. So obviously she's referring to the child in her stomach, which I thought might have been a lie before, but now I think is real, because I don't feel like she's that good of an actor. She's like, oh, no, my family. You know, well, Cersei, not obviously the actress that plays Cersei is a good actor, but they come to an agreement, and Cersei's gonna go help, send all the forces to go help them in the north to fight the Battle of the Dead, or the Great War, whatever Jon calls it. Oh, but while that meeting's happening, Jon and Daenerys also have a little conversation about how Daenerys says, she again reiterates that she can't have kids, and Jon's like, who told you that? Are they a trustworthy source? Etc. I'm like, okay, we get it, guys. You're hinting towards the Jon and Daenerys, baby. Got it. And then that all ends, and it's over. Cersei's gonna help. So later, also in King's Landing, Jaime's getting on the map, on Cersei's map on the floor, and he's getting all the troops together. He's like, okay, we're gonna go here, we'll send these forces here, we'll gather at Winterfell, etc. And then Cersei comes in like, what are you doing? And Jaime just can't believe her just utter lack of empathy or sympathy for the rest of humanity, and leaves her finally. Jaime finally leaves her. That was one of the most rewarding points of the show to me, was like, Jaime finally leaves her. I was a bit confused because when he leaves, I don't know if he didn't look like he was bringing an army with him. It looked like he was running off solo. I'm surprised that Cersei didn't kill him out of anger or something. It seemed a little too good to be true that he was allowed to leave and wasn't captured or anything, you know, like she just let him go, the father of her child. I'm not even sure where he's going to go at this point. I don't know if he's just gonna go by himself to Winterfell and swear allegiance to Jon. Like, what's gonna happen at this point? It just seems a little not characteristic of Jaime, but I'm happy that he finally left Cersei's clutches, because I just hate her. That was probably the second most rewarding thing that happened in this episode. Another little storyline that I'll just go over because I don't really care that much about it. And I hate that I don't care but I just don't. I don't care about Theon. Like, I don't like him. I don't think he's a very good person. And okay, he's battling himself, whatever. But he and Jon have this conversation, and the whole time in my head, I'm so just scarred by Game of Thrones that when Jon and Theon were in that throne room together, I really thought that Theon was gonna kill Jon for some reason. I don't know why, but Theon might be a little crazy now, because obviously he was tortured for years and years. He should be a little crazy, and I just thought he was gonna kill Jon for some reason. So, and I kept thinking, this is the last episode, they have to do something dramatic, they have to kill someone, and they don't. They have a conversation, and I really liked the moment when Jon said, you don't have to choose, you are a Greyjoy, you are Stark, or something like that. I thought that was very nice. That made me feel good inside, even though I don't love Theon, whatever. And then Theon runs off and gets his ass kicked by his little Ironborn crew. Somehow gets kneed in the crotch, and since he doesn't have anything there, he's like, nah, I'm alright, and then he uses that to his advantage and wins, and gets the Ironborn to go save Yara. Cool. And I think that's nice, because hopefully they do save Yara, because I liked that character. I thought she was a very strong female role for the series. We have plenty of those in Game of Thrones. That is that storyline, and honestly, I could live without the Theon scenes. I know, I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I just, whatever. Let's get to some goodness of the episode. We get Arya and Sansa, which, oh my gosh, I was so annoyed by their interactions this season. And if you saw my last review, they have to be plotting this together. There's no way that they're this silly and immature kind of towards each other still after all they've been through together. Like, where was their character arc, you know? And so the most gratifying moment of the episode for me was when Arya gets called into the room to be put on trial or whatever they do. She says, oh, you're going to be tried with treason and murder. How do you plead? Lord Baelish. So good, so gratifying, thank you. That was probably my favorite point of the episode, because I really was so annoyed before that because I really thought, if these girls are not plotting against him, I am gonna be so mad that they ruined their characters. It turns out they were. And then Arya gets to be the executioner, Sansa and Arya bond. I love it. That part, 100% perfect, loved it. Probably my favorite part of the episode because I feel like the stuff that happened after that, which we'll get to in a second, was kind of predictable and I kind of expected it to come. But this one I was kind of on the fence. I didn't know. I hoped. I assumed. I hoped. But I didn't know that Arya and Sansa were playing Littlefinger. Or maybe even they weren't and they talked to Bran. And I love that we finally used Bran's abilities for something because obviously it was Bran that said you held a knife to his throat and said, I told you you shouldn't have trusted me. And that was just so gratifying. Thank you. Because this whole time I'm like, you have this all-knowing Google of a brother and you don't use him to find out the truth. Like, is Arya plotting against me? He's like, no, she did not come to Winterfell to be the Lady of Winterfell. Why would Arya want that? Anyway, so I loved that part of the episode. My favorite part. Of course, we have the Bran and Sam, the nerds of the episode, talking it out and revealing that Jon is in fact Daenerys' nephew. This information is given as we go to a scene where they're banging and having boat sex. And it's also interlaced with a scene of Rhaegar and Lyanna's marriage, as well as, you know, her death and Jon's birth and his true name of Aegon Targaryen. Which I think, I guess we'll just touch on each point, but isn't it a little strange that they named him Aegon because Rhaegar already had a son named Aegon with his first wife, Elia? Are they just repeating names at this point? Or I thought that was a little strange that they would name this like the same name again, even though he already had a son named that who was murdered or whatever. That seemed a little strange to me. And in the books, there's a separate character that is supposedly Aegon Targaryen. So I'm wondering if that kind of means that in the books that guy's just an imposter anyway, but who knows. Hopefully book 6 comes out next year so we have something to do while we're waiting for the last season. I thought the Sam and Bran interaction was interesting because Bran tells Sam that he's the three-eyed raven and Sam is like, I don't know what that means. And then Bran says, I know all things, or I know everything. And then he immediately is like, so why are you here? Which to me completely contradicts what he just said and that he knows everything. And then he says that Jon is in fact the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna, and then says that Jon's a bastard. But I'm like, if you know everything, then why do you not know that he's a legitimate heir and that marriage happened in annulment and whatever? But again, I know people say that Bran's knowledge is more like Google. You have to actually put it in and look for something kind of specific and then it can come to you. You don't necessarily know everything all at once. But at the same time, he did just tell Sam, I know everything that's happened ever. So I thought that was a little contradictory, but whatever. Oh, I also thought it was interesting that when Jon and Dany were hooking up, Tyrion's in the hallway like mean mugging him. Tyrion, why do you look so upset right now? You're not Jorah, you know what I mean? Like, I can understand if he was upset, but I guess Tyrion's just concerned. I mean, my takeaway from that would be that he told Daenerys not to bring Daario with her to King's Landing because he would be a distraction. So I'm assuming maybe he thinks their love would be a distraction against everything else. I'm assuming he doesn't know of Jon's lineage or anything, obviously, since no one knows but Bran and Sam at the moment, I suppose. So we'll see how that comes about. Oh, and also about the incest, because I feel like that's all anyone can bring up right now. I just wanted to look it up because I feel that in the books it's not really a big deal to be incestual, or it's not as big of a deal if there's a generation in between or whatever. And so I looked it up, and the Targaryens actually married brother to sister, and that is what they always did. They married brother to sister, and if there wasn't a sister available to keep the bloodline pure, they'd marry like the first cousin, the closest cousin they could find to keep the bloodline as pure as possible. All of these people are made by incest. Daenerys, her dad, the Mad King, was married to his sister, Rhaella or whatever. I think that's what her name was. Daenerys came from her brother and sister being married, and I think she even says at some point during the books, she's thinking in her head, and I think she says that if Rhaegar's son Aegon had survived, she probably would have ended up marrying him, which would have been her nephew as well. So obviously she's already okay or knows that that's a possibility that she would marry a nephew or a very close relative, because that is what the Targaryens did. And also I thought it was interesting that, looking further into the incest thing, like Tywin Lannister, Cersei and Jaime's dad and Tyrion's dad, was married to his first cousin. That was their mom. So they're all kind of a little super incestual, actually, after they have the 3 kids with Jaime and Cersei. Incest doesn't seem to be as big of a thing in I want to call it Middle Earth, but this is not Lord of the Rings, in Westeros. So I don't know if the reveal on the television show will be as dramatic as one might think. Like, in that, oh my gosh, it's my aunt, gross. Like, I think maybe they won't feel that way. I don't know, that's my guess. But I know everyone's talking about that, and to me, because I knew the Targaryens are super weird and incesty, and that's why they're all kind of like, 50% of them are kind of insane, and the other 50% are kind of normal. That is my feelings on incest in Game of Thrones, or the relationship between Jon and Dany. Last thing of the episode, obviously, we have Tormund and Beric are overlooking the wall. They're looking down, and you're just waiting for it at this point. You're like, oh gosh, they gotta end the episode dramatically, of course. The Army of the Dead is officially here. I don't know, I can't believe they're there already. And then this dragon comes out. Why has the dragon got holes in its wings? Like, when did those get there? Is that just to make it look more undead? Which to me clarified the point where I was like, oh, maybe it's a White Walker dragon, but to me, if it's dead, then it's definitely a white, which means it's fully controllable, I think, in my opinion. And I thought it was interesting that the dragon is breathing fire, but fire kills whites. So obviously it's breathing some kind of extra magical fire, kind of maybe like wildfire or something, which doesn't kill whites, or the dragon is obviously capable of doing it. So burns down the wall, and the whole Army of the Dead just gets in. They're all good for it. They're marching. So my takeaway from this episode was that I thought it was a good episode overall. Like, it kept me engaged for the most part, and I was happy with everything that happened, like all the events that occurred. Cool, all for them. However, I'm a little disappointed that no one died. I know that's a dumb thing to say, but I just think it ended a little too cleanly and everything ended a little too perfectly, where even though Cersei was plotting all along on that little interaction, Jaime still left, so I feel like we still got a good thing from it. I just didn't feel that. I felt like something bad should have happened, something more ominous. I guess the dragon bringing down the wall is pretty terrible, but you know, like when Jon died, you just left and your heart was just like, no. You know, like that kind of passion and emotion, that's what I want to feel out of Game of Thrones, and I didn't really feel like I left with that at the episode, and that's a very small complaint, but overall I really enjoyed this episode, especially in comparison to the last couple where I was kind of like, I liked it, but you know, whatever. Very pleased with the episode overall. I do think that we got rid of Littlefinger, who was a big part of making Game of Thrones like very political and like a lot of manipulation and a lot of like lies and things happening, and we've kind of lost that at this point, so it was like a good time to kill him off, I guess. And it also confuses me that Varys isn't very useful anymore. I feel like he was also another one of the manipulators and the conniving ones, and he hasn't been used much this season either, so I think we're kind of doing away with that and going more for let's win the war, let's finish this off cleanly and not have too much of the depth and layers of deception, I guess, that we got earlier in the seasons. Yeah, I'm super pleased with the episode. Now that it's over, I do feel that we all have a bit of time to chill out and wait for the next season. I highly recommend that everyone reads the books at this point, because the books they're very similar to the show, and you get a lot more information and you get a lot more of that kind of that particular character's perspective, because each chapter of Game of Thrones is a different character's perspective. So it'll be like Daenerys, it'll be one chapter and it'll all be everything happening from her perspective, and it'll have Tyrion, etc. And then you'll have little tiny characters that you never hear from again, and sometimes it'll be a chapter from them. So I think it's very interesting just to get a little more information. If you're not big into reading, you can always listen to the books. I think audiobooks are something great to do when you're driving or you're stuck in traffic, or for me, if I'm getting my eyelashes done or my nails done or anything where you can't really be on your phone or using your hands or reading necessarily, it's really nice to just have that in. Or if you're waiting at the doctor's office, just audiobooks are super helpful, so you can use Audible for that. I feel like that is what everyone uses. That's my favorite one to use, at least. So you can download the books on that if you use my link, audible.com/Blackadder. then you will get a month for free, a 30-day trial for free. So first book is called Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. Go get it, read it. He'll probably come out with Winds of Winter next year. I'm almost sure that he will. I feel like they've planned this, you know what I mean? So it'll come out perfectly in between like this and the next season, so everyone gets it. So first book is called Game of Thrones. The second book is Clash of Kings, etc. So go download that book. That is what I recommend. I'm about to reread them all again just to pick up all the juicy details you could have missed. They're just a great read, a great listen. So that's what I'm going to recommend to you today. You know, when it's all said and done, we can all watch or read / listen to Winds of Winter together. And I feel that he is going to do the 6th book so much different than they did in the television show that it'll be just interesting to see that different perspective too. So I'm super hyped about it. So don't forget to use my link, and that's gonna be it for this episode. I would love to know what your kind of theories and whatnot are going forward. I feel that because the episode ended so cleanly, like I don't know what manipulation there could be or what kind of strange things could happen because it seems kind of straightforward at this point. So I would love to hear some more like theories, what you think and how you feel about it and whatnot. Like I really want to know what other people think because I don't even know what I think at this point. I'm so, you know, the episode just ended so nicely, you know? At this point, we will see what happens in 2 years when the next season comes out. That is so heartbreaking. Hopefully we get to see some Ghost. I would like to see some more direwolves. That is my request. Thank you, Game of Thrones. Please fulfill this. But that's going to go ahead and conclude this video. I really hope you all enjoyed it. You know, we'll see you in my next vlog. That won't be a Game of Thrones video, and I'm really sad about it. That's it. If there's any other series you'd want me to do, like, let me know down below. I don't want my channel to become these series reviews, but they are kind of fun to do. I'm definitely gonna do Westworld when that comes out, because I'm obsessed with Westworld. Bernard, into. I know that doesn't happen until next year either. I'm gonna shut up and stop rambling. I digress. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.